Suppose you were clearly not happy about the data transfer speeds of the Starlink satellite. In that case, we have good news for you because SpaceX launched a faster version of its satellite internet service called the Starlink Premium, which will cost about $2,500, and it is much more expensive than the standard Starlink service. But what's so special about this new plan? Is there just a price increase, or is there more to it? Well, that's exactly what we find out in this video, which is why we would advise you to stick till the end to know what's happening with Starlink. But before we begin, welcome back to the channel. Make sure you like and subscribe to the channel and turn on post notifications so that you get notified whenever we upload a brand new video. With all that done, let's get started. Right now, everybody in the tech industry knows what Starlink is, but for those of you who don't know, Starlink happens to be this ambitious project of SpaceX, where they create a satellite constellation developed by SpaceX themselves to provide low-cost internet to remote locations, especially to those locations where fiber internet connections are non-existent. SpaceX is eventually hoping to have as many as 42,000 satellites in this mega constellation in the future. But right now, we have about 1,500 operational satellites. The Starlink project was announced way back in 2015, and at that time, even the name for the project was not confirmed. Musk is clearly looking forward to capturing a part of the estimated $1 trillion worldwide internet connectivity market to help achieve his Mars colonization goals. But wait, how exactly is providing internet connection to help SpaceX to colonize Mars? Well, that's a very interesting question because SpaceX is just looking for additional income sources, and Starlink, being a service, can help fund the Mars colonization program as SpaceX will have more money for research and development. The U.S. Federal Communications Commission granted SpaceX permission to fly about 12,000 Starlink satellites, and the company filed paperwork with an international regulator to increase that number to 30,000 additional spacecraft. To understand how complex this is, as of January 5, 2022, we have a total of 12,480 satellites that have been launched throughout human history, out of which only 4,900 are still active. So, if SpaceX is working on the Starlink project, they will have the most active number of satellites in the world. All the satellite internet connections we have today use large spacecraft that orbit about 22,236 miles, or about 35,786 kilometers above a particular spot on Earth. But the problem is that there are significantly massive delays in sending and receiving data, which makes no sense because we all know that having no internet is much better than having slow internet. But Starlink is about to change that because Starlink satellites are much closer to the Earth, which means that this delay can be reduced by a huge margin. It makes sense because Starlink satellites are meant to carry large amounts of data rapidly at any point on Earth. And let's face it, it's not practical to lay fiber optic cables everywhere on the planet. But a satellite internet would be the most practical solution now. As of January 2022, SpaceX has launched more than 1,900 Starlink satellites already, and their network speeds averaged about 100 megabits per second, and a latency as low as 20 milliseconds. So, it's very clear now that satellite internet is going to be the next big thing. SpaceX, with their Starlink project, happens to be at the forefront of this revolutionary technology. And right now, the biggest news so far happens to be the fact that SpaceX launched the Premium kit that costs $2,500 with a deposit of $500, and the subscription is another $500 a month. To put things into perspective, the standard kit costs $100 in deposit, the subscription costs $99, and the entire kit costs $499. This premium service will be ideal for businesses and can also operate better in bad weather, which always used to be a problem with satellite internet connections in general, and it looks like Starlink just fixed that. So, you might be wondering what's special with these Starlink Premium kits? Well, users of the Premium kit could expect download speeds anywhere from 150 to 500 megabits per second, and that is a lot more compared to the maximum speed of 150 megabits per second that was available to the standard service customers. The Starlink Premium kit includes a dish, a Wi-Fi router, and a tripod. All the usual stuff here and nothing fancy. So, when can we expect the Starlink Premium, especially if you are a business owner? Well, SpaceX stated that customers would be able to get their hands on Starlink Premium by the second quarter of 2022, and the company would also notify the customers who paid the $500 deposit or when their internet kit is ready to be shipped. The website clearly describes the premium service as ideal for small offices, storefronts, and super users across the globe. So, there is no denying the fact that the Starlink Premium was designed for better performance and extreme weather conditions, and it makes a lot of sense because that used to be the problem with satellite internet connections. They are heavily unreliable. This premium kit comes with a bigger antenna, and this is clearly designed for those high-demand users. Starlink Premium will give you that adequate bandwidth for critical operations even during times of peak network usage. With the Starlink Premium, there are no long-term contracts, no data caps, and no exclusivity requirements, at least according to the website, which is positive news. But not everybody is happy about Starlink's service, especially astronomers, as they expressed their concern by releasing a statement way back in June 2019 that the satellite constellations can pose a significant threat to important existing and future astronomical infrastructures, and they were asking SpaceX as well as other policymakers to work with the astronomical community in a way to analyze and understand the impact of satellite constellations, and also to reconsider the decision of allowing satellite internet constellation. Another report that was published very recently stated that the American Astronomical Society is concerned about the impact of mega constellations due to light pollution. The sky may brighten up by a factor of 2 or 3 due to diffused reflection of sunlight by the spacecraft. Apart from all that, SpaceX is also planning to refresh the Starlink mega constellation every 5 years with newer technology, and at the end of their service, their old satellites will be steered into Earth's atmosphere, where they will just burn up. SpaceX might think that would just solve their problem. Well, that's not the case, because if a huge number of satellites are being burnt in a very healthy upper layer of the atmosphere, that could potentially alter the atmospheric chemistry and might have other unforeseen consequences for life to be sustainable on our planet. In a paper that was published in May 2021 in the journal Scientific Reports, Canadian researcher Aaron Boley stated that the aluminum the satellites are made of would produce aluminum oxide, which is also known as alumina, during the burn-up. He warned that alumina is known to cause ozone depletion and could also alter the atmosphere's ability to reflect heat. So, if SpaceX dumps enough alumina into the atmosphere, a lot of scattering will take place, which would change the fate of our planet. Maybe it's just a marketing tactic, because if our planet is at stake, Elon could offer a trip to Mars instead. But clearly, that is not his vision, because if that were the case, we wouldn't have Tesla and other companies that Elon Musk is a part of. The man clearly wants humanity to be at its peak and be sustainable at the same time, so that we don't cause any harm to our own planet that supports life. Right now, SpaceX is all about working with organizations and space agencies to mitigate the impacts of its mega constellation. SpaceX's Vice President of Satellite Government Affairs, Patricia Cooper, stated that SpaceX is absolutely committed to finding a way forward so that the Starlink project does not impede the value of the research that's being done on satellite internet constellations. SpaceX is clearly listening to the community, which is why they recently launched their satellite sport visors that are designed to prevent sunlight from glinting too brightly off their most reflective parts. The idea behind having a satellite internet connection is really incredible, considering the fact that this would provide internet access to everybody on the planet, because right now, internet happens to be a fundamental need to connect to the world, and people missing out on that might clearly not be acceptable because of how the internet was able to change our lives. Let's hope that Starlink, with its faster version of the satellite internet service, will help them to cater to businesses and people on the move. Soon, we might have Starlink services on ships and airplanes so that you always stay connected no matter what. And that's a wrap for today's video. What do you think about the Starlink satellite internet service? Will it replace the fiber internet connection that we already have that is much faster and more reliable than the satellite internet connection? Do let us know in the comments section below, because we would love to hear from you all. Also, consider subscribing to our channel for more tech-related content just like this one, and turn on post notifications so that you get notified about all our future uploads. That's about it for today. We hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, make sure to smash that like button, and we will meet again in the very next one. So, stay tuned for more.